My name is Autumn Townsend. I am 33 years old. And last Thanksgiving, my parents distributed gifts to every grandchild seated at that table, except mine. My sister's children each received a beautifully wrapped box accompanied by a card reading, "To the grandkids who made us proud." My daughter Lily, just 8 years old, stared at the bare spot in front of her. My son Sam, 5, quietly asked if Santa had forgotten him. My nephew Tyler, 14, glanced across the table at my children and laughed. Guess they didn't earn one. I did not raise my voice. I did not shed a tear. I gathered my children, reached for our coats, and walked out through my parents' front door. Once home, I sent a single text to the family group chat, and within seconds, my phone erupted. "Mom, Dad, my sister Monica calling," without pause. But here is what none of them knew. What I did next would cost them far more than a gift bag. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, the channel where everyday people rise up, establish boundaries, and reclaim their dignity, one story at a time. If you have ever been the one your own family overlooked, this one is for you. Drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. Now, let me take you back to where this all began. My family is small-town Ohio, Millfield, population around 12,000. My father, Frank, retired 3 years ago from county road maintenance. My mother, Diane, leads the Tuesday prayer circle at First Presbyterian and considers herself the social cornerstone of our street. My older sister, Monica, married Craig Lawford, a dentist with his own thriving practice, 15 years ago. They have 3 children, a spacious home, and 2 European cars parked in the driveway. I took a different path. A culinary arts degree from Columbus. Married Kyle at 24. Charming in public, suffocating in private. He dictated when I could see friends. He controlled how I spent every dollar. When I discovered he had quietly removed my name from our joint checking account without a word, I filed for divorce. I was 28. Lily was 3. Sam was 5 months old. I moved back home. Rented a 2-bedroom apartment on Oak Street, 14 minutes from my parents' house, and started over with a second-hand mixer and a cottage food license. I named my little home bakery Townsend Sweets, salted caramel apple pies, brown butter pecan tarts, lemon lavender scones. Every recipe entirely mine, crafted during late nights when the children were asleep, and the kitchen was the only space that truly felt like it belonged to me. 2 years later, I had steady weekend orders and a growing Instagram following. Nothing remarkable, but enough to keep the lights on and put Lily in dance class. My parents never forgave me for the divorce. Not because they were particularly fond of Kyle, they barely knew him. They had always excused his absence the way people excuse rain, something that simply happened. What they could not excuse was me choosing to leave a marriage. In my family, being divorced was considered worse than being miserable. At least miserable stayed silent. The shift came gradually after the divorce. My mother stopped calling on Sundays. My father's monthly visits dwindled to whenever he was in the area, which, apparently, was never. Monica's children received birthday parties at my parents' house. Bounce houses, deli platters, 30 guests singing around sheet cakes with their names piped in buttercream. When Bryce, Monica's youngest, turned 7, my parents spent nearly $400 on decorations alone. I know because my mother announced the receipt at dinner, as though reading from a trophy. Sam turned 4 that same month. My mother said they were tight on money. She mailed a $20 Target gift card. It arrived 3 days late. Lily noticed. Children always notice. She stopped asking to visit Grandma's house and began asking why Grandma never visited ours. I brought it up once, calmly, over coffee at my parents' kitchen table while the kids played outside on the swing set. "Mom, the birthday thing." Sam notices. Lily notices. Diane stirred her coffee without lifting her eyes. "Monica needs more support, Autumn. Craig works long hours. You have always been the independent one. Take it as a compliment." A compliment. That is what she called it. I stopped arguing after that. I stopped expecting. But I did not stop showing up because every few weeks, Lily would look at me with those wide brown eyes and ask, "Can we go see Grandma? Maybe she'll play cards with me this time." So I scaled back the visits. Monthly became holidays only. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter if the weather cooperated. Just enough to let my children believe their grandmother still remembered their names. Just enough to preserve a peace I was already losing. Thanksgiving morning. 6:47 a.m. The kitchen smelled of brown butter and cinnamon. Sam sat on the counter gripping a wooden spoon, licking caramel from the handle. Lily was at the table, carefully wrapping a drawing for Grandma in a sheet of printer paper, a handprint turkey, signed in her meticulous second-grade cursive. I slid my salted caramel apple pie into its carrier. This was the dish everyone requested at every gathering. The one Diane served to her prayer circle friends while letting them quietly assume she had made it herself. I never corrected her. Correction required energy I simply could not spare. We loaded the minivan. 22 minutes across town. I turned onto Maple Lane and spotted Monica's pearl-white Lexus already in the driveway. Craig's dark blue BMW sat beside it. Every window of my parents' house glowed like a holiday postcard. Inside, the dining room table was set for 10. Turkey centered. Name cards written in Diane's looping script. I pulled out Lily's chair and stopped. At Tyler's place, a small glittering silver gift bag. At Emma's, another. At Bryce's, a third. At Lily's place, her name card and nothing else. At Sam's, the same. I stared at those empty spots for 3 full seconds. Then I set the pie carrier on the counter. Nobody reached for it. Nobody said thank you. Frank greeted me with a handshake. Not a hug, a handshake, as though I were a neighbor returning a borrowed tool. I told myself the bags were simply favors for later. I told myself they would hand something to everyone after dinner. I told myself many things that year. Most of them turned out to be wrong. Dinner conversation was entirely Diane's. She spoke about Monica's new kitchen countertops, imported quartz, $12,000. She described Craig's practice expanding into a second office on the east side of town. She talked about Tyler earning a spot on the travel soccer roster. Every sentence looped back to Monica's family like a record skipping on the same groove. When I mentioned that Townsend Sweets had been accepted for a booth at the Millfield Spring Farmers Market, my first real public venue, something I had been working toward since September, Diane redirected before I could finish my sentence. Frank, pass the gravy. Monica, tell everyone about Bryce's science project. Monica smiled. Craig carved his turkey. Nobody glanced my way. Lily sat beside Sam, unusually quiet. Her eyes kept drifting to the silver bags resting at the cousins' places. Her fingers traced the edge of her empty placemat. Sam had not yet noticed. He was 5. He was still young enough to believe that if something was missing, it was simply arriving a little late. Monica leaned across the table. Autumn, have you considered going back into restaurant work? Stability, benefits, health insurance for the kids. I set my fork down evenly. I have insurance through the marketplace. Right, Monica said, her smile unchanged. Just thinking of the kids. Frank asked Sam what he wanted for Christmas. Before Sam could answer, Diane cut in. Frank, let's not do gift talk right now. The irony of that sentence would not register for another 20 minutes. I should have left then. But Sam had mashed potato on his chin and was giggling at something Tyler had whispered to him, and for roughly 10 seconds, it resembled the kind of family I had always wanted my children to have. 10 seconds. Diane rose before dessert was served. She smoothed her blouse, pressed her palms together, and addressed the table with the composure of a woman delivering an address. Before we have pie, Grandpa and I have something special, a little recognition for the grandkids who made us proud this year. She crossed to Tyler's chair first and handed him his silver bag. He pulled out a gaming headset, $80 retail. I knew, because Sam had circled one in a flyer just the week before. Tyler grinned. Thanks, Grandma. Emma was next. A jewelry-making kit filled with genuine semi-precious beads. She squealed with delight. Diane beamed. Bryce received a Lego architecture set, the Statue of Liberty. He tore the bag open and emptied the box directly onto the table. Then Diane settled back into her chair, refolded her napkin, and reached for her wine glass. That was it. Sam looked at me. His bottom lip did not tremble. He was bewildered, not wounded yet. He leaned in close and whispered, "Where is ours, Mama?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Lily did not ask. She already understood. She slid her handprint turkey drawing halfway out of her jacket pocket, studied it for a moment, and pushed it back in. She was no longer going to give it to Grandma. Tyler pulled the headset on, adjusted the band, then looked at Lily, then at Sam, and left. Guess they didn't earn one. Nobody corrected him. Monica examined her wine. Craig studied a spot on the wall. Frank stared down at his plate. Diane sipped and said nothing. The room was silent except for the rustling of wrapping paper and the distant hum of the football game from the other room. And my 5-year-old son's face was slowly shifting, from confusion into the kind of understanding no child should ever have to arrive at over a dinner table. I looked at Lily. She had her hands flat in her lap, perfectly still, the way she holds them when she is working very hard not to cry. I looked at Sam. He was staring at Tyler's headset with an expression I recognized immediately, the same face I used to make when my mother missed my school recital. I looked at my mother. She was slicing a piece of turkey and chewing with the quiet satisfaction of someone who believed she had just delivered a very important lesson. I rose slowly from my chair and pushed it in. Lily. Sam. Get your coats. Diane set her knife down. Autumn, sit down. You are overreacting. Get your coats, baby. We are going home. I walked to the counter. My pie sat exactly where I had placed it 45 minutes earlier, untouched. Nobody had sliced it. Nobody had served it. Nobody had even shifted the carrier to make room on the counter. I wrapped it in the tea towel I had brought and tucked it beneath my arm. Frank half rose from his chair. Come on, Autumn. It is Thanksgiving. I looked at him steadily. Not for us, Dad. Lily slid off her chair and reached for Sam's hand. She dipped into her pocket, retrieved the handprint turkey drawing, and folded it quietly back inside. She had painted it the evening before with watercolors. She had signed it, Love Lily, age 8. She tucked it away and walked toward the front door without looking back. Nobody followed us. I buckled Sam into his car seat. Lily climbed in on the other side and clicked her own belt without being asked. I started the engine, reversed out of the driveway, and turned onto Maple Lane. I half expected someone to step outside, a voice, a hand against the window, something. The porch light remained on. The door remained closed. The drive home took 22 minutes. Sam fell asleep with his cheek pressed against the window by minute 5. Lily sat with her hands folded in her lap, watching the road pass. She did not speak until we pulled into our driveway. Mama, why does Grandma not like us? I switched off the engine and sat in the darkness for a moment. The dashboard clock read 7:14. Grandma is confused right now, baby. That is not your problem to fix. I carried Sam inside and laid him on the couch with a blanket. Then I stood in the kitchen for a long while, staring at my phone. The family group chat, Townsend Family Blessings, glowed at the top of my messages. 19 members, though only 5 of us ever posted. The last message was Diane sharing a pumpkin bread recipe 2 days prior. I typed it short and final. Don't invite us again. We're not your joke. I paused, then added one more line, your gift is on the way. I did not yet know what that meant. I pressed send regardless. Within 30 seconds, 4 missed calls. Mom. Dad. Monica. Mom again. A text from Diane, you're being dramatic. Call me now. A text from Monica, seriously, it was just gifts. A text from Frank, your mother is crying. I placed my phone face down on the counter, walked to the refrigerator, and cut 2 generous slices of salted caramel apple pie, the one nobody had touched at my parents' house, set them on plates, and placed them on the kitchen table. Lily came in. She sat across from me. We ate in silence, the 2 of us, while Sam slept on the couch and my phone buzzed against the granite like something desperate to be let out of a jar. I did not answer. I did not yet know what your gift is on the way truly meant, but I knew I was finished pretending. The following morning, I woke to 47 unread messages in the group chat. Diane had composed a full essay, 4 paragraphs, flawless punctuation, as though she had drafted it in a word processor first. Her explanation: the gifts had been awarded for academic achievement. Tyler had made the honor roll. Emma had won the district spelling bee. Bryce had received a citizenship award at his elementary school. It was meant to be motivational, she wrote. We were hoping it would inspire Lily and Sam to work harder. Sam is 5. He is in preschool. His greatest academic milestone this year was learning to zip his own jacket. Frank sent a separate message, private, outside the group. Your mom didn't mean to hurt anyone. Come for Christmas. We can talk. Monica texted, if your kids were in more activities, they would have gotten something too. Don't blame mom for your choices. I read every message twice. I saved every screenshot. I did not respond. At 9 in the morning, I called Patty in Guyan. Patty owns the flower shop on Main Street. She is 58, originally from Houston, and the kind of woman who says precisely what she means and means it without apology. She has known me since I returned to Millfield. Every Friday, she buys 24 lemon scones from me for her shop counter. I told her everything, the bags, the speech, Tyler's remark, the walkout. Patty was quiet for about 3 seconds. Then she said, honey, that is not tough love. That is cruelty with a name card on it. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in 12 hours. Save those messages, Patty said firmly. All of them. You might need them later. I did not yet understand why, but I saved them. December arrived cold and still. No calls from Diane. No visits from Frank. The group chat sat dormant like a room holding its breath after an argument, everyone waiting for someone else to speak first. I poured myself into Townsend Sweets. Holiday orders doubled from the previous year, driven almost entirely by word of mouth from a craft fair I had done in November. I fulfilled 73 orders in 3 weeks: pumpkin ginger tarts, cranberry almond biscotti, my salted caramel apple pie, the very same one that had sat untouched on my parents' counter, now selling 4 deep every Saturday from my kitchen. I applied for the spring booth at the Millfield Farmers Market. The application ran 2 pages plus references. Patty wrote one. My culinary school instructor, who still remembered me after 9 years, wrote the other. I mailed it in the first week of December and tried my best not to check the mailbox every afternoon. I drove to the county clerk's office and upgraded my cottage food license to a full food handler's permit, 12 hours of coursework, $65, and a laminated certificate I mounted on the refrigerator beside Lily's spelling test and Sam's finger painting. Christmas Eve. A card arrived from my parents addressed to Lily and Sam, not Autumn. My name was not on the envelope. Inside, a $25 Target gift card and a note in Diane's handwriting. Merry Christmas to our grandchildren. Love, Grandma and Grandpa. Lily examined the card, then looked up at me. Mama, Grandma forgot your name. She did not forget. Grandma is upset with me, baby. And that is not your problem to fix. Lily nodded quietly and returned to her coloring book. Sam taped the gift card to the refrigerator as though it were a trophy. He was 5. He did not yet comprehend exclusion. I hoped he never would. January. I dropped Sam off at Little Stars preschool on a Tuesday morning. Another mother, Karen Bledsoe, whose son shared Sam's class, gave me a look I could not quite place. Part sympathy, part curiosity, like someone slowing down past an accident. I heard about your Thanksgiving, she said. Your mom told my mom at church. I did not ask which version Diane was circulating. I did not need to. Over the following 2 weeks, the shape of it became clear enough. Diane had reshaped the walkout into her own narrative, and it was moving through First Presbyterian like a well-rehearsed hymn. Everyone already knew the melody of her version. Autumn abandoned the family on Thanksgiving and shattered her mother's heart. She refuses to let Diane see the grandchildren. She is punishing her parents simply for loving Monica's children. Not a single detail about the gift bags. Not one mention of Tyler's remark. Not one acknowledgement that 2 children under 10 sat at that table and received nothing while their cousins were celebrated 6 feet away. Orders slowed. 2 regulars canceled. One texted, sorry, I just don't want to get caught in the middle of anything. I sat at my kitchen table that night with my order spreadsheet open. December, 73 orders. January, so far, 41. 2 large weekly accounts gone. Revenue down 19% in 3 weeks. My mother was not simply trying to guilt me back into the fold. She was poisoning the very water I needed to survive on. Patty called that evening. People are talking, Autumn. You need to know. Diane told the Tuesday prayer group that you abandoned the family. I pulled up my laptop, opened a folder labeled documentation, created a new spreadsheet titled Canceled Orders, and logged every name, every date, every excuse offered. I did not yet know what I was constructing, but I was constructing something. Late January. Patty sent me a screenshot without any words, just an arrow emoji pointing downward. Monica's Instagram. A new account launched that same week. Lawford Kitchen. Custom cakes, pies, and pastries for every occasion. The bio read, "Family recipes made with love." The logo featured a rolling pin nestled inside a wreath of wheat. The color scheme was warm golden cream, close enough to mine that it could have passed for a sister brand. I scrolled through the posts. Salted caramel apple pie, brown butter pecan tarts, lemon lavender scones. Every single item from my menu, photographed on marble countertops that cost more than my monthly rent. Monica had me blocked. I could only see what Patty forwarded. The comments were effusive. "These look incredible. Do you deliver? I love that you are keeping family traditions alive." And Monica's reply, every single time, "Thank you so much. My grandmother taught me." Our grandmother did not bake. She lived in Dayton and played bridge. She passed away when I was 12 and Monica was 16. She never once stood in a kitchen with either of us. I checked the county food license database. No listing for Lawford Kitchen, no cottage food permit, no food handler's certificate. She was operating out of her home without a single piece of documentation. But the detail that made my hands tremble was not the licensing violation. It was the final post. A photograph of her version of my salted caramel apple pie, my recipe, the one that had taken 14 test batches and 3 full months to perfect, with a caption that read, "A recipe that's been in our family for generations." Beneath it, one comment from Diane Townsend. "So proud of my girl." She had said something to me 6 months prior when I asked if she would share my bakery flyer with her church group. "We can only invest in one family autumn." Now I understood precisely what she had meant. February. I contacted a small business attorney in the next town over. Rachel Kim. Her office sat above a dry cleaner on Route 9, and her initial consultation was complimentary for 30 minutes. I arrived with a folder, not a thin one. Rachel worked through it with the composed efficiency of someone accustomed to reading bad news for a living. Cottage food license for Townsend Sweets, registered 2 years prior. 153 order receipts, each time-stamped. 28 Instagram posts spanning 22 months, each featuring original recipe photography. My culinary school notebook, handwritten, dated, with my instructor's margin notes in red pen. Customer emails. County permit upgrade paperwork. She looked up at me over the folder. "How long has your sister been operating?" "About 3 weeks. Does she have any formal training?" "She took a cake decorating class at the community center in 2019. Rachel closed the folder. "You have common law trademark through prior use. If she registers a name or product line confusingly similar to yours, you can file an opposition." She pulled up Monica's Instagram on her phone, scrolled through the menu posts, and held them side by side against my documentation. "This is not competition," she said. "This is appropriation. Keep documenting." Every post, every comment where she claims these are family recipes, every order she accepts. If she files a trademark, we oppose it the same week. I asked what it would cost. She said her hourly rate was $175, but an opposition filing was a flat $1,500. She told me to take some time and consider it. I drove home with the windows down, even though it was February and 38 degrees outside. For the first time in months, I felt something I had nearly forgotten entirely. Certainty. Late February. My inbox chimed with a confirmation from the Millfield Farmers Market. My booth had been approved. Slot 14, positioned directly between Patty's flower stand and the honey vendor. Opening day, the 3rd Saturday of March. That same afternoon, I received a call from the market coordinator. Her name was Deborah, and she sounded like someone making a deliberate effort to remain impartial. "Autumn, I want to give you advance notice. We received another application for a baked goods booth. The product line has considerable overlap with yours." She did not say Monica's name. She did not need to. "Is the applicant properly licensed?" I asked. A pause. "That is between the applicant and the county." Monica had applied to the market. Someone had passed along word about my booth. 3 months of complete silence from my family, and suddenly my sister was positioning herself 3 tables away. Her Instagram following had climbed to 900. Mine sat at 600 and change. She had Craig's dental practice income funding her marketing, professional product photography, vinyl banners, a polished website with an online ordering form, all things I could not yet afford. I opened my order spreadsheet. January, 41 orders. February, so far, 22. Revenue down 44% from December. A customer messaged me that week. Your sister says she taught you how to bake. Is that true? I stared at that message for a full minute. No. I attended culinary school. I developed every recipe myself. Oh, she made it sound like you had copied her. I captured the screenshot, saved it to the documentation folder, and forwarded a copy to Rachel. 44%. That was not a seasonal slump. That was a woman with a dentist's household income and my own recipes pulling my customers quietly across the street. Early March. Patty called on a Wednesday evening. Her voice was different, clipped, urgent, the way it sounds when someone has slipped carnations into a bridal arrangement. Come to the shop right now. There is something you need to see. I was there in 9 minutes. Patty stood behind her counter holding her phone out like it was courtroom evidence. Her daughter Jess was close with Monica's babysitter, a college student named Alyssa, who watched Tyler, Emma, and Bryce 2 nights a week. Alyssa had been scrolling through her screenshots folder and accidentally sent a batch to Jess instead of her roommate. Group chat screenshots. The wrong group chat. Not the Townsend family blessings thread. A different one entirely. 3 members, Diane, Frank, and Monica. The chat was named Planning Committee. The messages were dated 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Diane, get gift bags for the 3 kids, not Autumn's. She needs to understand there are consequences for pulling away. Monica, Craig can get the headsets wholesale. I'll handle the rest. Frank, is this really necessary? Diane, if she wants back in this family, she needs to show up properly. This will motivate her. Then the day after Thanksgiving, after the walkout, after my text, one final message from Diane, she'll come crawling back by Christmas. I read those screenshots standing in a flower shop that smelled of eucalyptus and cold water. My hands went numb. My chest felt as though someone had laid a flat stone across it and simply walked away. It had never been about earning anything. It had never been about achievement. It was organized, deliberate punishment, inflicted on my children, aged 8 and 5, designed to force me back into a family that had made obedience the price of belonging. Patty said nothing. She simply placed her hand on my shoulder and let me stand there until I could breathe again. If you have ever discovered that the people you trusted were actively planning to hurt you, mapping it out like a project, complete with group chats and shopping lists, then you already know exactly what this feels like. You said, rewrite this script with very minor changing in excellent words and word quantity same. You know why I kept going. If you are still here, drop a comment and tell me if you have ever uncovered the truth about someone you deeply loved. Subscribe if you have not already, because what unfolded at that farmer's market is where this story truly begins. March 1st, Rachel called before I had finished my morning coffee. Your sister filed a state trademark application. Lawford Kitchen Artisan Sweets and Pastries. The product list overlaps entirely with your registered menu. I set my mug down. Can she do that? Anyone can file. The question is whether it holds, and it will not. Your prior use documentation is airtight. Every receipt, every post, every license predates hers by at least 20 months. Rachel filed an opposition on behalf of Townsend Sweets within 5 days. The fee was $1,500. I paid it with the savings I had been setting aside for a commercial mixer. The mixer could wait. My name could not. That same week, Monica posted a photograph of her version of my salted caramel apple pie. Golden light, marble counter. A single slice on a ceramic plate with a sprig of rosemary. Caption: my grandmother's recipe perfected. 47 likes. Comments filled with heart emojis and order requests. I opened my recipe notebook, the one I had carried through culinary school. Page 34. Salted caramel apple pie. Final version dated in my instructor's red ink, 18 months before Monica posted her first photograph. I photographed every page front and back, uploaded them to a time-stamped cloud folder, and shared access with Rachel. My grandmother did not perfect this recipe. My grandmother made Jell-O salad and store-bought rolls. She played bridge on Fridays and passed away when I was 12. My sister was constructing an entire brand on a fabrication. And my mother was leaving heart emojis beneath every post like a woman faithfully watering a garden she had planted with her own hands. Rachel's words came back to me from our first meeting. Prior use beats a filing date. Every receipt you saved is a brick in your wall. I had a great many bricks. Mid-March. The Millfield Farmers Market held a preliminary vendor meeting at the community center. 32 booths confirmed. Deborah, the coordinator, walked everyone through setup times, health codes, and parking passes. I arrived early, arranged my sample table. 3 pies sliced thin, printed menus, business cards with a QR code linking to Instagram, a clean white tablecloth, hand-lettered chalkboard signs. Monica walked in 20 minutes late. She carried a vinyl banner rolled under her arm and a box of samples in coordinated gold packaging. She spotted me and stopped for half a second. Then she selected a table at the far end of the room. The other vendors noticed. Dan, the honey seller who had worked the market for 11 years, leaned toward Patty during the break. Those two have the exact same menu. That is not a coincidence. Patty sipped her coffee. No, it is not. After the meeting, Deborah pulled me aside near the water fountain. I need both of you to coexist professionally on market day. If there is an active business dispute that falls outside anything I can mediate. I nodded. Understood. She paused, glanced toward the door Monica had just walked through, then added quietly, for what it is worth, your cottage food license predates the other application by 23 months. That is public record. I checked. She walked away before I could respond. Patty was waiting beside my car, a cellophane-wrapped bouquet of sunflowers tucked under her arm, the ones she sets out every Friday when her weekly delivery arrives. She handed them to me. What are these for? For your table on opening day. Let your work speak, honey. It will be louder than any gossip in this town. I placed the sunflowers on my passenger seat and drove home with the windows cracked, even though it was barely 42 degrees outside. Late March. Rachel called with an update. The State Trademark Office has flagged your sister's application. Your opposition is under formal review. Based on the documentation you provided, 2 years of dated receipts, 28 Instagram posts, the cottage food license, the culinary school notebook, your case is strong. Strong. She used that word the way a doctor says stable, carefully, professionally, with just enough warmth to signal that things were moving in the right direction. Orders began returning. 2 former customers reached out the same week. One was a woman named Claire who had purchased a pie every Sunday for her book club. I went back and looked at your original Instagram posts, she said. I compared the dates. I had no idea your sister started after you. She did. By 20 months. I feel terrible. I ordered from her twice. You did not know. She placed an order for 3 pies that week and mentioned it to her book club. I said nothing publicly about Monica. I did not reference the trademark dispute, the group chat screenshots, or the gossip campaign. I simply posted consistently. Processed shots from my kitchen at 5 in the morning, Sam with flour across his nose, Lily carefully arranging pie slices on a sample tray for the market. Real life. My life. Instagram followers climbed 800, 900, 1100. A local food blogger named Tess reached out. I love the story behind Townsend Sweets. Single mother, home baker, culinary school background. Would you be open to a profile? The post went live the second week of March. It was detailed and precise. It noted my cottage food license date, my culinary degree, my 2 years of building the business from the ground up. It made no mention of Monica. It did not need to. 6,000 views in 7 days. Comments poured in. This is what real entrepreneurship looks like. For the first time, complete strangers were seeing what my own family had always refused to acknowledge. Diane appeared at my front door on a Wednesday evening. No call, no warning, just her car in my driveway and her knuckles against the screen door. I had not seen her face in 4 months. She looked thinner. Her hair was freshly colored and her lipstick was immaculate, which told me everything. Diane does not leave the house in lipstick unless she has something specific to deliver. We need to talk about this legal business, she said from the porch. You need to drop it. I did not invite her inside. I stepped out and pulled the door closed behind me so the children would not overhear. Which legal business? This thing with Monica. The trademark nonsense. You are embarrassing this family. Which part is embarrassing? The part where she took my recipes, or the part where you helped her? Diane's jaw tightened. Nobody took anything. You learned those recipes from my kitchen. They are family recipes. I developed them in culinary school, Mom. I have the notebooks with dated instructor notes. She shifted slightly, dropping her voice half a register, the way she does when pivoting from offense to guilt. I am your mother. I carried you. And you are choosing a pie business over your own family. I looked at her without flinching, no heat, no fracture in my voice. You chose gift bags for 3 children and empty seats for 2. You made the first choice, Mom. Not me. Something moved across her face, a brief flicker. Not remorse. Recognition. The expression of someone trapped inside their own logic, unable to locate the exit. She left without another word, walked to her car, reversed out of the driveway, and turned right onto Oak Street. I watched her taillights fade into the dark. Then I went back inside and finished frosting a batch of lemon lavender scones for Saturday's market. Frank called 2 days later. The first time since Thanksgiving. His voice carried the weight of someone who had been sleeping in a windowless room, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with rest. He cleared his throat twice before speaking. Autumn, I need you to understand something. Your mother is not sleeping. She is not eating properly. This situation is wearing on her. I leaned against the kitchen counter. Sam was in the living room watching cartoons. Lily was working through homework at the table. I kept my voice measured. Dad. She planned the gift exclusion in a group chat 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I have the screenshots. Silence. The kind of silence that sounds like someone easing a door shut they had hoped would never be opened. Where did you get those? Does it matter? More silence. I could hear him breathing steadily through his nose. Your mother just wants you to come home, Autumn. Home is not a place where my children are used as leverage. She loves those kids. She excluded them from gift bags and told her church circle I had abandoned the family. That is not love, Dad. That is control. His voice fractured. What do you want me to do? And there it was. The sentence that revealed everything I needed to understand about my father. He was not asking because he intended to act. He was asking because he had never once known how. 64 years old, retired, physically healthy, present in body, and still waiting for someone to hand him the correct answer. Ask yourself why you never said no to her, I said. Ask yourself why you let it happen. He hung up. I cried that night after the children were asleep. Not from losing my father. I had lost him years ago without either of us ever acknowledging it aloud. I cried because he had just confirmed it out loud himself. The week before the Millfield Farmers Market grand opening, I sat on the living room floor with Rachel's folder spread across the carpet like a case map. Trademark opposition filed, acknowledged, and under review. Prior use evidence packet, 43 dated invoices, 28 Instagram screenshots with timestamps, my cottage food license scan, and 8 customer testimonials, each one signed, dated, and specific. Rachel had organized everything into a laminated single-page timeline. Left column, Townsend Suites, established October 2023. Right column, Lawford Kitchen, established January 2026. Below each column, the dates, the posts, the receipts. 23 months of difference, laid out in 12-point font. I had not asked her to create it. She said she thought I might want something tangible to hold. I baked test batches that Thursday evening. Sam sat on the counter licking caramel off a spoon. The same spot, the same spoon as Thanksgiving morning. Lily folded napkins printed with the Townsend Suite stamp, pressing the ink pad carefully and centering each impression. Mama, are we going to sell a lot? I hope so, baby. More than Aunt Monica? I stopped rolling dough. Lily was watching me with an expression far too mature for 8 years old. She knew. She had been observing everything. She understood far more than I had ever given her credit for. We are going to sell what we make, and we are going to be proud of it. She nodded and returned to her stamping. I placed Rachel's folder into my market tote, the laminated timeline, the evidence binder, the culinary school notebook. I was not planning a confrontation. I was planning a booth. But I packed the folder the way you tuck an umbrella into your car when the sky looks undecided. Just in case. Saturday morning. 5:45. Millfield Town Square was dark except for the string lights strung across the pavilion and the headlights of vendor trucks pulling in one by one. I loaded the minivan. 4 coolers of sliced pies, 2 trays of tarts, the chalkboard signs, the sample plates, the tablecloth. Sam stayed home with Patty's husband Doug, who had volunteered for babysitting. Lily came with me. She insisted. My booth was slot 14. I laid down the white tablecloth first, then the chalkboard menus, then the ceramic sample plates with toothpicks. Patty's sunflowers, the same ones she had pressed into my hands after the vendor meeting, went into a mason jar at the corner. Lily taped a drawing to the front of the table. Townsend Sweets, made with love. She had drawn it the evening before in colored pencil. 3 booths to my left. Monica arrived at 6:30. Professional vinyl banner, gold-lettered signage, coordinated gold boxes stacked in a branded crate. Craig's BMW idled at the curb while she unloaded. He handed her something and drove away without stepping out of the car. She did not look at me. I did not look at her. By 9, foot traffic had built steadily. I sold 14 pie slices in the first hour. People stopped, tasted, asked questions. How long have you been doing this? Can I order for a party? Is this the pie from the food blog? A woman approached Monica's booth around 9:30, sampled the salted caramel apple pie, then walked directly to mine, tasted it and stopped. She looked back and forth between the 2 booths. These taste identical, she said. I met her eyes evenly. They should. It is my recipe. She studied Monica's banner, then mine, then the dates printed on my laminated menu. She bought a whole pie and walked away without another word. 10:30. Diane and Frank entered the market through the south entrance. Diane wore her Sunday blazer, pale blue with pearl buttons. Frank followed slightly behind her, the way he always had, close enough to appear present, far enough to avoid accountability. They went directly to Monica's booth. Diane embraced her with unmistakable volume. There is my girl. Does this not look absolutely wonderful? The hug lasted 5 seconds longer than necessary. It was performed for my benefit. For 20 minutes, they stationed themselves at Monica's booth. Diane handed samples to passers-by. Frank shook hands with familiar faces from church. They inhabited the role of devoted, proud parents with the precision of people who had rehearsed it. They did not acknowledge me. Not a glance, not a nod. My booth stood 40 feet away and they conducted themselves as though I had never existed. A woman from Diane's prayer group, I recognized her from a Christmas potluck years prior, stopped at my booth and leaned in. Your mother told everyone Monica started this business first. Is that true? I reached into my tote and laid the laminated timeline flat on the table where she could read it clearly. Townsend Sweets, October 2023. Lawford Kitchen, January 2026. 23 months apart. Dates, licenses, social media records. She read it carefully, eyes moving left to right, top to bottom. She looked up at me, glanced down the row toward Monica's booth, then back at me. Lord have mercy, she said quietly. She bought a tart and immediately told the woman standing behind her in line. By 11, I had sold out of pie slices. Monica's booth still had inventory. Craig arrived at 11:15 with Tyler. Tyler spotted Lily standing behind my table. He looked at her, started to form a smirk, then stopped. He looked away. I want to pause here because I know some of you are thinking she should have snapped. She should have raised her voice. But I had learned something about my mother long ago. She sustains herself on your reaction. The louder you become, the more material she collects. So I stayed composed. I let the evidence rest on the table and let people draw their own conclusions. If that sounds familiar to you, you are not alone. Hit subscribe. The climax is coming. 11:15. Monica walked toward my booth. I saw her from 20 feet away. Gold apron, measured smile, hands clasped in front of her like someone approaching a witness stand. She stopped at the edge of my tablecloth, close enough for the neighboring vendors to hear, but not loud enough to carry across the entire market. Not yet. You need to stop telling people I copied you, she said. This is embarrassing. I have not told anyone anything, Monica. Then why is everyone studying your little timeline like it is a legal document? Because it is. She shifted her weight and crossed her arms. Those are family recipes, Autumn. Mom taught both of us. Mom told me last week they were family recipes. You told Instagram your grandmother taught you. Which story is it? The color rose in her face from the collar upward, climbing like a thermometer in direct sun. She leaned forward. You have always been jealous of me. Ever since we were children, you could not hold a marriage together, and now you. She stopped. Not because she had exhausted her words, because she realized people were listening. Dan the honey vendor had frozen mid-pour. Patty stood completely still behind her flower buckets. The woman from the prayer group remained at my table, tart in hand, motionless. 3 other customers had stopped walking entirely. Monica looked at them. She looked at me. Her jaw moved, but nothing followed. I did not raise my voice. I did not step forward. I reached into my market tote, retrieved Rachel's folder, the one I had packed simply as a precaution, and set it on the table between us. I said nothing. The folder sat there, substantial and orderly, secured with a single black binder clip. I opened it. My hands were steady. My pulse was not, but no one needed to know that. This is my cottage food license, registered October 2023. These are 153 order receipts, each one date-stamped. These are 28 Instagram posts from the past 22 months documenting my original recipes. I turned a page. This is my culinary school notebook. Page 34. Salted caramel apple pie. Final version dated in my instructor's own handwriting. I placed the laminated timeline beside it. Left column, right column. 23 months of documented, built-from-scratch work set beside 3 months of replicated content. The State Trademark Office has already flagged your application based on my prior use filing. My attorney submitted the opposition in the first week of March. Monica stared at the folder as though it had grown teeth. This is crazy. You are crazy. It is not crazy, Monica. It is a paper trail. Diane pushed through the small crowd that had gathered, 15 people, perhaps 20. She was moving quickly, her Sunday blazer catching the morning light. What are you doing? Stop making a scene. I did not look away from the folder. I am not making a scene, Mom. I am showing people the truth. That is all I have ever wanted. I reached into the folder one final time. One more sheet. I laid it flat on the table and turned it to face them both. The planning committee group chat screenshots, the messages from 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Diane's instruction, get gift bags for the 3 kids, not Autumn's. Monica's reply, Craig can get the headsets wholesale. I'll handle the rest. Frank's hesitation, is this really necessary? Diane's answer, this will motivate her. And the final message, sent the night after I walked out, she'll come crawling back by Christmas. Diane's face went white. Not pale, not flushed white. The kind of white that happens when blood decides it has somewhere more urgent to be. The crowd went silent. Monica recovered first. She turned to the onlookers with her palms raised, the way politicians do when a microphone captures something they never intended to be heard. She is lying. She has always been jealous. She could not hold a marriage together, and now she, a woman in the crowd, the one holding the tart, interrupted. Ma'am, these documents have dates on them. Monica stopped. Her mouth stayed open for a moment, then closed. She turned to look at Craig. Craig had been standing behind her alongside Tyler, holding a reusable shopping bag like a man who had expected to be somewhere else entirely by now. He looked at the folder. He looked at Monica. Then he took one quiet, deliberate step backward. His expression told the entire story. He had not known. Not about the recipes, not about the trademark, not about the group chat. Craig Lawford, 40 years old, accomplished dentist, had just discovered that his wife's new business had been constructed on her sister's work and her mother-in-law's deliberate cruelty. Tyler stood behind his father. For the first time since Thanksgiving, he had absolutely nothing to say. Diane made one final attempt. She stepped toward me, close enough that I could detect her perfume, the same vanilla musk she had worn to every family dinner since my childhood. Autumn, please. You are destroying this family in front of everyone. I did not destroy it, Mom. I just stopped concealing the damage. Her hands trembled. Her voice dropped to something nearly inaudible. I just wanted you to need us again. And there it was, small and almost genuine. For half a second, I truly saw her. Not the woman who had orchestrated gift bags and whisper campaigns, but a 61-year-old mother who had confused control with closeness and never learned how to love without a condition attached. Then she straightened, wiped her eyes, and addressed the crowd directly. None of this would have happened if you had simply come to Christmas when I asked. And just like that, the moment was gone. She could not separate love from obedience. She was not going to learn, and I was finished waiting for her to. Deborah, the market coordinator, had been standing 10 feet away with her clipboard throughout. She stepped forward and addressed us both, though her eyes swept the gathered crowd as she spoke. I have reviewed the vendor applications and the county licensing records. Miss Townsend's cottage food license for Townsend Sweets predates the competing application by 23 months. The overlapping product descriptions have been flagged, and I will be forwarding this matter to the County Food Safety Office for review. Translation: Monica was operating without the proper licensing. Her booth was unlikely to return. Monica said nothing. She walked back to her booth without a word. Craig followed. They dismantled the vinyl banner first, then packed the gold boxes, then the samples that had gone largely untouched for the past hour. Tyler carried a folding table to Craig's BMW. Diane and Frank departed through the south entrance. Diane walked 6 paces ahead of Frank. He followed the way he always had. At my booth, a line formed. 12 people. Some were market regulars. Some were complete strangers who had watched everything unfold from the pickle vendor's stand or the kettle corn booth. A woman I had never met purchased a whole pie and said, "I am telling everyone I know about this place." Patty stood at the corner of my booth with her arms folded and a smile she was making no effort to conceal. "Let your work speak, huh?" I could barely respond. My throat was tight, not from anger, but from the unfamiliar and overwhelming sensation of being seen by people who had no obligation whatsoever to look. Lily had been watching from behind my booth the entire time, perched on an overturned milk crate with her colored pencils. During the confrontation, she had been drawing. She held it up now, a new sign-colored pencil on cardstock, Townsend Sweets. "We earned it." I looked at my daughter. I nodded. "Yeah, baby. We did." That evening, market packed down, coolers emptied, tablecloth folded, the sunflowers wilting slightly but still yellow enough to matter. I drove home the same 22 minutes I always had. Sam had fallen asleep at Patty's house and stayed asleep when Doug carried him to the car. The same way he had drifted off driving home from Thanksgiving, cheek pressed against the window, trusting completely that wherever we were headed would be safe. At home, I settled him on the couch with a blanket, made tea, and opened my phone. The Townsend Family Blessings group chat sat at the top of my messages. 31 unread. I did not open them. I typed one message. "I wish you well, but we are done. Do not contact me or my children. If you respect us at all, you will respect this boundary." I pressed send. Then I left the group chat. Blocked Diane's number. Blocked Monica's number. I left Frank unblocked, not because I anticipated him changing. Expectation is a debt you collect from yourself. I left it open because one door should remain slightly ajar, in case the person on the other side ever chooses to knock with honesty. He had not yet earned that chance. But I was not prepared to say he never would. The phone stayed silent. No calls, no buzzing, no vibration against the counter. For the first time since Thanksgiving, the silence was not a punishment. It was peace. I walked to the kitchen, cut 2 slices of salted caramel apple pie, and placed them on the table. Lily came in, still clutching her new sign. She sat across from me. Same chairs, same table, same pie. "Mama, are we going to be okay?" "Yeah, Lily. We already are." She took a bite. I took a bite. The house was quiet, and the quiet belonged entirely to us. May. 2 months after the market. Townsend Sweets had a regular booth now, every Saturday, slot 14. Patty on my left with her flowers, Dan on my right with his honey. We set up at 5:45. Most weeks I sold out before noon. Revenue was up 200% from the January low. Not because of the confrontation, because the food was genuinely good and the customers kept returning. Rachel called on a Tuesday. The trademark opposition went through. Your sister's application was rejected on the basis of prior use. She may keep the name Lawford Kitchen, but cannot register overlapping product descriptions. Your menu is protected. I thanked her, paid her final invoice $400 for the follow-up paperwork, set the phone down, and looked at the refrigerator where Lily's spelling test was still taped beside Sam's finger painting and my laminated food handler certificate. Monica's Instagram had fallen silent. Her last post was 3 weeks prior. No new orders listed, no captions about family recipes or grandmother's traditions. Just quiet. Diane had not reached out. No text, no card, no knock at the screen door. Frank sent one message in late April. It read, "I am sorry. I did not stop it. I read it. I did not respond, but I did not delete it either." In May, I began a new tradition. I called it Townsend Thanksgiving. Not in November. In May, because why limit gratitude to a single assigned day on a calendar? Patty and Doug came. Lily set the table. Sam placed a paper crown on the neighbor's dog, who had wandered over through the back fence. I went to the dollar store and bought 2 sparkly silver gift bags. Filled them with homemade caramel apples and hand-painted cards. One at Lily's seat. One at Sam's. Sam picked his up immediately. "Mama, is this for me? Every gift at this table is for you, baby. Always." He tore into it like it was Christmas morning. Lily opened hers quietly, read the card, and slipped it into her pocket, the way she keeps things she intends to hold on to. I used to believe that family meant showing up regardless. Regardless of how small they made you feel, regardless of how hollow the chair they set aside for you had become. I no longer believe that. Family means showing up for the people who genuinely show up for you. My parents had 33 years to choose differently. They chose gift bags and group chats and calculated gossip over their own grandchildren. I chose my children. I chose my work. I chose myself. And I would make the exact same choice again tomorrow. That is my story. One Thanksgiving. One walkout. One folder that changed everything. If this reminded you that your boundaries are not selfishness, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.